Hello. Anybody there yet? I'll wait till I see a comment. Hi, April. It's chilly out here today. Hi, Ann. Okay, well, welcome to Lunchtime Live. We've had so much sun. I really didn't believe it was going to be so cold today. Hi, Rebecca. So I had wanted to do the video out on the North McCoy Trail or on the South McCoy Trail, where I usually see today's species, but I was afraid it might rain on me. So I am here in the amphitheater. I'll just step aside so you can see where I am. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Mar. So today our species is the Cassin kingbird, and its scientific name is Tyrant vociferans. And the Tyrannus part sounds like a dinosaur, but the title is really about the Vociferous, which is about how noisy it is, how vocal. And it is the noisiest of the kingbirds. It's vocal even at night. Most birds are not. The terns, this particular kingbird. And Cassin kingbirds are in the family flycatcher. And flycatcher is the largest family of passerines. There are 36 species in North America. The ones that we have here year-round are the black phoebes and the sage phoebes, and then the Cassin kingbirds come in the winter along with the western kingbirds, and they look similar, but usually I'll see the westerns more in town and the Cassins here at the estuary. So let me just show you a picture. This is a Cassin kingbird, and they're about the size of a robin. They're gray. Their heads are kind of small, and one of the ways, it doesn't really look small in this picture, but that's the description. One of the ways you can tell a flycatcher, see how it looks kind of like it's having a bad hair day? That's one of the ways. It looks like they have little cowlicks. And then the other thing is, its head is gray, but see this sort of dark cheek? They have that dark cheek, and it makes them look a little bit stank, like they're in a bad mood. But and the other way that you can tell a kingbird is a behavior, which I'll tell you later. So you can see that it's gray. The wings are more brown. The tail is more brown. They are moderately long wings and tail. And then obviously this bright lemon yellow belly and this white chin. And notice the beak. If you're new to birding, it really helps to look at the beak, because if you learn your beak types, you'll know what it eats. And if you know what it eats, you know where to look for it. Are you going to look perching? Are you going to look on the ground? Are you going to look at the shore? The beak will really help tell you what it eats and where it is. So notice, you probably can't see from this picture, but it's got this strong, straight beak, but it has a tiny hook on the edge. That is because they are insectivores, and it needs that to catch its prey. Notice also these little hairs. Those are called rictal bristles. They're located at the gape of the mouth, which is right here, which is called the rictus. When I was first learning about birds, someone told me that those served as kind of an insect net. you know, to help them catch the insects. But I've read that that is incorrect, that it's really a sensory function that kind of lets birds know their speed and orientation in the air. So, you know, they can avoid obstacles and things. And I also read that swimmers, you know, that people have the same thing. So when you're swimming in the pool as a swimmer, you're not actually supposed to totally shave your legs for speed. You're supposed to leave a little bristle so that you know where you are in the water. I thought that was interesting. And if nothing else, it keeps their facial feathers clean. Let's see. Let me show you one more time. These guys, they are birds that live in many different habitats. So they live in the desert scrub. You'll see them in agricultural areas, grasslands, pine forests, oak woodlands, canyons, foothills. They nest in the summer in the pine forests, in the really tall trees. So they don't nest here, they come here in the winter. So they come to this big open habitat so that for catching flies, for hunting. They are, again, insectivores, and they eat beetles, bees, ants, flies, aphids, cicadas, grasshoppers, crickets, moths, butterflies. They also surprisingly eat a small amount of fruit. So they like elderberry, which, you know, that's a native plant here, tree. And but they also like grapes and blueberries. So, you know, maybe you could attract them to your yard. Now back to another way to ID a bird is behavior. And one of the ways you can tell that you're looking at a flycatcher is the way that it hunts. And it hunts from an elevated perch. So it does this thing called hawking. And it looks like it's attached to a rubber band, right? So it's up here perched, and it will fly down, get the insect, and then right back to the same perch. So kind of like it's on a rubber band. That's called hawking. Most of the insects it catches, though, it catches by being very acrobatic in catching them in midair. And they can actually catch two before returning to their perch. So that's interesting. And then, so for breeding, and again, they don't nest here, but for breeding, it's the males that establish the territory, and they pick one with at least one really good primary feeding site. And for a courtship, they do this sort of a zigzag fly up, and then, you know, like they zigzag up and then they twirl down. And they also will choose the site of their kind of mating dance to be the same site as their hunting perch. So if you see them doing that, that's also where you're going to see them hunting. That's their primary hunting site. They kind of greet each other, the males and the females, by calling, because again, they're talkative birds. And they flutter their wings and they spread their tail. For nesting, the females make the nest. And the nests are kind of interesting. You know, the typical twigs, barks, roots, leaves, little grass. But what's interesting is that they make a lot of use of discarded materials. So you might find some string or who knows what in their nest. And also, they adorn their nests with feathers and flowers sometimes, which is pretty cool. The females incubate the eggs, and they have 2 to 7 eggs. They're white and splotchy with sort of reddish splotches. Cracks me up when you read about eggs, though, right? It's like pinkish white, and And the splotches might be reddish, but they might be lavender-ish. So I guess it's dependent maybe on the person looking at them. All those variants of color. The males, their job is to watch for the predator, and both of them will feed their young. The conservation of these guys is, they're in good shape because they're so versatile, but there are areas in which people will cut down a tree that happens to be where they perch. I was just talking to a friend of mine at Coronado Cays. Tracy, she does a lot of habitat restoration there. And there's these trees, tobacco trees, and they're pretty invasive and, not native. But it's an important thing to leave at least one or two, because that happens to be where the flycatchers perch. And as far as conservation goes, that's the biggest concern, is that they lose the large trees for perching, and then also in the pine forest, sometimes they lose those really large trees to fire or whatever, and that's where they nest. So they live to be like 6 or 7 years old. Not too old, but not too young. So anyway, that's about it for the Cassin kingbird. I recommend North McCoy Trail, where the little wires are on the posts. Flycatchers sometimes like to sit there and do that hawking thing. Another place is over by the Navy base on the fence. Sometimes they'll sit over there. They like those fennel that are over there. And usually you just see 1 or 2 by itself or with a mate or a friend. But I have seen them in flocks, small flocks, like 7, something like that. So look out for that hawking behavior, that little bit of cowlick, and that dark stripe. Okay, that's all I've got today on Cassin kingbirds. If you guys have any questions, I probably won't see them in time, but you can type them in and we can answer them later. So it's good to see everybody. Thanks a lot. Hopefully it's warm tomorrow. See you next week.